All right, guys, I have a brand new DCU update for you this morning. And man alive, I do not believe I have to keep addressing stuff like this. But I posted my video yesterday about Constantine 2 being canceled by James Gunn, and just the amount of negativity that seeps into the comments is thick. You could cut it with a knife. Now, you guys all have to understand something, and I'm talking mainly to the guys who keep coming in and making all these negative comments. It's my channel. There's no two ways to talk about it. It's my channel. It's not your channel. It's mine. If you don't like the message that I'm delivering or the videos that I put out, you can go watch somebody else. There are a lot of people who think that I just have to get on my knees and just worship James Gunn. That is not going to happen. He has to prove himself. There is nothing that James Gunn has done in the past. There's nothing that he's done that says that he's going to make an epic Superman film. People say he did Guardians of the Galaxy. Great. And you know what? Guardians of the Galaxy is probably my second favorite Marvel film. But his style works for that kind of a film. Doesn't work for DC. And in fact, Guardians of the Galaxy is different from the rest of the DCU. More than half the projects that he's doing are things that nobody's going to care about. People will then point to, well, Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't popular before he did it either. You're right, but they had Captain America, they had the Hulk, they had Iron Man, they had their heavy hitters out there before they ever did anything like Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn is coming out with some bizarre stuff to start with that I just don't think is they're just not going to gain a whole lot of traction with general audiences. I just don't see it happening. So the amount of negativity is ridiculous. Now, let's address Constantine 2. Yesterday, everybody was reporting that Constantine 2 had been canceled. Luckily, the studio came out and said it is still moving forward, which is great. I am a news channel. I am going to be bringing you guys all the news all the time in regards to DC. Does that mean I'm going to like it? No, but I'm still going to be bringing you guys the news. If I'm wrong, yes, I'm going to correct it. The amount of snarky comments like, ooh, it's still moving forward. You going to go in and correct it? Are you going to correct yourself? Oh, you got to go in and you got to do it. Show us who you are. Guys, it's ridiculous, okay? It's my channel. Obviously, I'm going to come in and bring you the news, and if I bring you a video one day that says something is canceled because that's what everybody's reporting, and then we find out it's not, obviously, I'm going to correct it, okay? And yes, they said it is still moving forward. That still doesn't change my feelings about James Gunn. The thing that I cannot stand more than anything else, and when people just get in line and stand behind a studio just because it's DC, or just because it's Star Wars, or just because it's Indiana Jones. Just because it has the name does not mean it's going to be good. Okay? And the reason these studios continue to churn out garbage is because the so-called fans just eat it up, whether it's good or bad. That's not who I am. I've reviewed stuff my entire life. And I will continue to review this stuff as it comes out. And I can only review the actions of what James Gunn has done. And his actions show that he is going to troll the fans. He doesn't care about anything that happened before. He is going to keep the people he wants in his movies. To think that Amanda Waller and Peacemaker are going to be probably the only ones that make it outside of The Flash is absolutely ridiculous. And we're going to see what's going to happen with The Flash, because they are reporting that they are refilming some of the ending of The Flash to obviously mesh with the new version the new trajectory of the DCU. And in fact, there's supposed to be a mystery character at the end of the film that wasn't in the original script. And they did cut out, and just as soon as I got done with my video yesterday, they cut out, they announced that they were cutting out scenes at the end of the film with both Sasha Calle and Michael Keaton. So there's going to be less Batman and Supergirl at the very end of the film. They're not going to trail into the current DCU timeline. So they're going to stay where they're at, which is good. I always like the idea of Michael Keaton coming back as Batman, but I don't want him as the Batman, which is going to cause an interesting ripple because there was apparently a very important scene in Aquaman 2, and they filmed it once with Michael Keaton and once with Ben Affleck. And so Jason Momoa has talked about how he has filmed scenes with multiple Batmen. So maybe the new person who might be taking over for Batman will be in that. Who knows? Maybe they'll introduce the new Superman. I am betting that he is much further along with casting than anybody figured. Like I said, when he took over, this was not just an over-the-night decision, made on a whim. There was obviously some discussions that went on long before this. He talked about how he had been writing Superman for a long time. So things have been in motion a lot longer than we ever possibly could have known. We don't know what that's going to be. Now, let's say in the future that the Superman movie is amazing or it's good. Yeah, I'm going to come out and admit it. I'm going to give my honest review, but I cannot be paid. I cannot be forced to have an opinion just because somebody else wants me to have that opinion. I hated the fact that they hired Ben Affleck to play Batman when that happened. I just could not stand it. And then I saw Batman versus Superman, that warehouse scene. Oh my gosh, that is Batman ripped directly from the comics. And people say, well, he killed people. Batman has killed people in every live-action iteration there has been. So you can't sit there and say that's unique to just his Batman. They talk about, everyone complains that Henry Cavill was dark and, Zack Snyder's vision was twisted. He actually had a story that he was telling, and he came out and has said on multiple occasions that by the time this journey was over, those two characters were going to be the people they used to be and should have been. We saw a lot of that with Superman at the very end of Zack Snyder's Justice League. He had become, when he fights Steppenwolf at the end, the look on his face and the ease with which he does stuff, he's the guy that we've been waiting to see. And Henry Cavill was excited to play that version of Superman. That's where they were headed with this. So there was no reason to fire him. For James Gunn to come in and first thing he does is fire Henry Cavill after they announce he's back with, that he was back with Black Adam, that's on James Gunn, okay? I have reason to not be happy with James Gunn. To think that they're going to get rid of him and keep people like possibly Ezra Miller and to keep Jason Momoa, it's ridiculous to get rid of Henry Cavill. Even Ben Affleck was up to the idea of coming back as Batman. He was willing to come back for Aquaman 2 and some other stuff, but he's probably not coming back at all now. And what's stupid about that is this Batman Brave and the Bold would be a perfect opportunity to continue with Ben Affleck's Batman. But they're not going to do that. They'll bring in somebody else or they'll have it be Dick Grayson. I just don't have a whole lot of faith with what they're doing going into this new Chapter 1. And I think I did say that this is part of Chapter 1. It's not the whole part of Chapter 1. There's going to be more after Swamp Thing. But I personally do not think we're even going to make it to Swamp Thing. If this first movie does not come out of the gate as a blockbuster and is amazing, we're never going to get the rest of what James Gunn has planned. Like I said in yesterday's video, we've had slates before. And no matter what people say, James Gunn's Suicide Squad was a bomb. And one thing you guys need to look at before you say it was during the middle of a pandemic, it was the most streamed show ever or movie on HBO Max. They never released the streaming numbers for Zack Snyder's Justice League because they don't want people to know how well it actually did. The numbers were never released officially by the studio. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? They were never released. What you have to look at is home video sales. And I will tell you, James Gunn's Suicide Squad did crap on home video. Nobody bought that movie. Very, very low home video sales, whereas all the stuff previous had much bigger home sales. It's just a fact. And everything prior to Aquaman, everything leading up to Aquaman, those movies grew the audience. And then after Aquaman, it took a dump because of what the regime was doing. Warner Brothers just can't keep their fingers off of stuff. So more people went into the theaters. Did those movies profit as much? No, because of the amount of money that went into making those films. But you got to remember, the studio butchered them and made all kinds of changes. That's on the studio. If they would have just let the filmmakers make their movies, it would have been great. So people say, well, now we have James Gunn as the head of the studio. He is the studio. There's nobody that can derail him. That's all fine and dandy. But that still doesn't mean he's the right guy for the job. And he has to prove himself, just like everybody else. So this first movie, this Superman Legacy, has to be something amazing. I'm not going to just drop in line because you guys, some of you guys in the comments want me to. That's not how this works. I'm not just going to say, because I'm a DC fan, that I instantly like the stuff that they're throwing at me. And that leads me to something I want to talk about. There's a writer they're bringing in to work on some of the DC stuff, and I think she's the worst person they could bring. They're bringing in the Birds of Prey writer and the Bumblebee writer. Her name is Christina Hodson. They're bringing her in to be part of the DC writing team. Oh my gosh, Birds of Prey was the worst DC film released yet. That movie was garbage. If you look at the plot of that film, girl swallows a key. She has to poop it out. Whoever gets that key is going to be the ruler of Gotham. Yeah, and then you go off and kill Black Mask right at the end of the film. Stupid movie. That was the worst movie that the studios released yet. Terrible film. And it didn't make that much money. Maybe profited more because it didn't require a ton of the special effects that some of these other blockbuster films did. But the fact is, less people went to go see those films. It's a fact. So no matter how you look at it, everything post-Aquaman has just been garbage. It's just been going downhill. Everything from Shazam and then on, it just continued to take a nosedive, regardless of the virus or not. And the home video sales have a lot, it's a good indicator to whether people want to own those materials or not. And they just simply don't. They don't want those movies. So you guys can say whatever you want, but this is my channel. I will continue to bring you guys the news, and we will be covering everything moving forward with DC. So that's all I have for you today. I think there was something, I can't remember if there was something that came out. No, it was just the news about Sasha Calle and Michael Keaton at the end of the Batman film, and just, talking about Constantine too. So anyway, there's my update for the day. If more information comes out, I will be covering it, and we will be, just stick to my channel, and you will be getting all the information stuff that's getting passed around the internet. I do appreciate it. We will see you guys on the next video.